Ukraine and Israel and even Taiwan and just this idea of foreign aid. How do you, and it's tough to predict where any of these issues will be a month from now, let alone a year from now. But how do you kind of wrap your head around what the United States role is in all of this? And also, how do you balance that with all of the things that seem to be attached to that sort of spending and that sort of legislation that are not necessarily directly related to that foreign aid?
And so these are decisions that when you make in Congress, number one, you have information that you get from classified briefings. Number two, you have history that helps to guide you. Number three, we're very concerned about having 34 trillion in debt and what that imposes upon our ability to borrow, ability to grow the economy, and the burden it places on our young people. So you have to take into context all of those factors. But let me just say that President Biden trying to get back into the Iran nuclear agreement, the way that he left Afghanistan, the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan, and then opening up our southern border, all of those things have led to the United States as being perceived as lacking leadership and lacking engagement on the world stage. And we know that when the United States is perceived as weak, it leads to aggression abroad. So we certainly have seen that under President Obama. We're now seeing that under President Biden. And so we have conflicts now in Ukraine. And Russia and Putin have made it very clear that they don't intend to stop at Ukraine. So the concern, and as you may know, we have part of the Kosovo army. We have a relationship with Kosovo with our National Guard. When I speak with them, they're very concerned about Russia's aggression. Serbia is now on the border with Kosovo. Putin has made it very clear that he would like to go past Ukraine, that he would like to reassemble imperialist Russia and the Soviet Union. We also have an agreement with Ukraine in 1994, the Bucharest Agreement, that if they gave up nuclear weapons, and at the time Ukraine was the third largest possessor of nuclear weapons, if they gave up nuclear weapons, we would help them to remain their independence and to be sovereign. So when you look at those actions that for a fraction of the cost for us to degrade the Russian army, knowing that Russia would go beyond, and if Russia invaded a NATO country, and the Baltic states are concerned, Poland is concerned, we know that that Sweden and Norway and Finland are concerned because they've joined NATO after not having been in NATO or willing and wishing to join NATO. That the concern is that Putin will continue his aggression, go into a NATO country, and that would lead to the loss of American lives and even greater spending burden. Then when you look at Israel and what has happened, Israel was attacked on October 7th. It was a horrific, devastating attack. I was with Senator Ernst in Israel in January. We were supposed to go there actually on October 7th when the attack occurred. We were meeting with MBS in Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia was about to join the Abraham Accords, and we think that was one of the things that started that attack. So as we look at what's happening in Russia and Iran and then China, part of this was these nations seeing what happened in Afghanistan when we withdrew and betrayed our allies there. And so they see that as opportunities. So the world is a very unstable place. There are many aggressors that are willing to take advantage of what they see as a weakness. And so certainly I understand those concerns. I understand the concerns of people on both sides of the aisle. But ultimately, you have to make a decision on how best to keep America safe. And I felt it was through the funding of these three packages, Israel, Taiwan, and then Ukraine as well too. However, I'm also going to say that none of us want to engage in unending conflict. And one of the things that we pushed the Biden administration about was to have metrics on what the funding is used for. We've got good oversight and investigatory methods in place now, but we need metrics on what do we consider a success. Are you engaging in peace negotiations at the same time as this funding is going there, to make sure the funding is used for military reasons and not for humanitarian reasons, and then continuing to push all of the NATO countries, especially Germany, to increase the amount that they're funding to NATO and funding their own defense. So I think all of those are considerations, and it's a big topic, but I think it's very important for us to realize that, number one, we certainly had an agreement with Ukraine from 1994, and two, we need to understand and realize what Putin's motivations are and what will happen if he is successful in Ukraine. You know, Putin is as I think President Trump has described him before. You know, he's an aggressor, he's a dictator, and he's made it very clear that he will not stop at Ukraine.
Can you talk a little bit about the Conservative Climate Caucus that you are now leading?
So I think this was a place where I did not think Republicans had a voice and had not entered into the conversation. And I'm in Iowa, so we have 25% of our state is agriculture, and we know that farmers are the original conservationists and stewards of the environment. And when I look at our state and what our state was doing, you know, it's little known to people that 50% of our energy comes from renewables, and that's the entire gamut of renewables, not just wind and solar. Now, 60% of our electricity is from wind, and we're a net exporter of energy. So, yes, we're an agricultural state, but I told Texas and Louisiana and Ohio to look out because we are also an energy state. And so, when I look at what we have been able to do without mandates, without emissions, I just felt that Iowa really was a story that needed to be told, and how you can both clean the environment, leave a cleaner, healthier planet for our children and grandchildren, but at the same point in time, have affordable, abundant, reliable, secure energy that allows us to compete economically around the world. And we need to be able to compete economically around the world to grow our economy, have better paying jobs for people, more jobs for people, and then that investment you know, when you're having more people working, making higher salaries, that goes into our treasury, and that investment can be used to further help to have a cleaner, healthier planet.